After a bit of a delay, free-to-play football game UFL, developed by Strikers Inc., was finally released this week. Cristiano Ronaldo has famously invested £32 million into this project, which is aiming to compete with EA Sports and Konami to become the best football game around. And the developers have described it as free-to-play with a focus on skill and zero pay-to-win options. But there's microtransactions and in-game credits. Doesn't that contradict the game's marketing campaign? Well, not necessarily. The game's microtransactions don't mean pay to win. While you can buy in-game credits, you'll still need to earn enough reputation points in order to purchase the best players in the game. And the only way to increase your reputation is by winning ranked matches online. So it's quite a smart progression system, really. That being said, in the game's description in the Microsoft Store, it claims UFL offers a fair challenge with no shortcuts. This is somewhat misleading, as even though you have to earn reputation points to get hold of the better players, the microtransactions allow you to buy in-game credits rather than having to grind out results and earn it naturally. The game itself is free though, and the company have to make their money back somehow. At first, I thought they ditched their whole marketing campaign by adding in the same pay-to-win options as EA Sports has, but once you understand how the progression works, it's actually a really smart system, and as fair as it can be without being totally free in all areas. The main question though, is the game any good? Could we finally have another contender to the decades-long rivalry between EA Sports and Konami? At the moment, there aren't that many game modes available, and if you're wanting a decent single-player experience, there isn't really a lot for this game to offer, though I am told the developers will be adding in more modes via updates at a later date, so that is something to look forward to. With there being several licensed stadiums and thousands of real-life players in the game, there's a chance we might see a few fully licensed teams in there soon too. And with this game being multiplayer only currently, you have to jump in blind really. There is a training ground, but it's very limited as to what you can do here. I couldn't do anything other than take shots against a goalkeeper or an empty net, so the training ground seemed pretty much redundant. So I set up a game against a human opponent. And I wasn't waiting long for the game to find me someone to play against. I had to make do with my average squad while my opponent's players were on average 10 to 15 points better than mine. But that didn't seem to matter all that much. While my opponent did seem pretty good on the ball in places, he didn't really know how to defend, and I ended up winning 13-0. But fair play to him for not quitting out when things weren't going his way. I wasn't going to judge UFL on one game though. I had to play a few to get a decent feel of this game, and from what I can tell, it's highly attack focused. In my second game, I came up against a much better opponent who smashed me 8-3. I was well and truly outclassed in that game, but the issues were evident. I scored 3 times in a game I've had barely 3 shots in. The goalkeepers are useless, and defending, although it might get easier when I've put a few more hours into it, is really difficult. Attackers seem to glide into the penalty area easily and slot the ball past the goalkeeper every time. I was lucky in a sense that my opponent chose to play the ball around and showboat a little rather than just score goals, otherwise I might have been on the end of a double-figure hammering, and I had no confidence whatsoever in my goalkeeper or defenders. After playing around with a few of the ranked matches, I tried out the casual games, and it was more of the same really. This scoreline in the screenshot was a classic game of UFL in which the goalkeepers might as well not have been there. Slide tackling seems really awkward. At one point I was trying to get the achievement for getting a player sent off in a ranked match, but in the time it took for the slide tackle animation to play out, the opponent had strolled past in most cases, and the best I could get was a yellow card. Skill moves are slow and sluggish, but dribbling seems fairly smooth. I'm not sure how much that has to do with the defences being weak, but passing the ball around is quite satisfying, and the game's AI is intelligent enough to know when to make a run in anticipation of a through ball. This game definitely does have some potential. The graphics are okay. They're nothing special for a game that's been released in 2024, and they're certainly nowhere near as good as the graphics of FC25. But I understand this game will be constantly updated over time, like eFootball. So who knows, we might eventually have a game that can compete with EA Sports. As it stands though, UFL is leagues below the standards of FC25. People moan about it, but it's still a solid game, and it's a lot stronger than this one in its current form. With UFL being free, I urge anyone who's into football games to give this one a try. It's a solid effort from the developers, but sadly it's not a game that kept my attention for longer than a couple of days. I am looking forward to seeing what improvements are made in further updates though, and it's certainly a lot better than Konami's first attempt at eFootball was. What were your thoughts on UFL? Let me know in the comments, and please consider subscribing to my channel for more videos like this.
Excellent sliding tackle. Won the ball cleanly. Lots of good offers. Where's he going to play it? And the opposition wins possession back. This is a great opportunity. Can they finish it off?